G'day guys and gal. As the year comes to a close, it's a good time to reflect. I've made a lot of videos, and sometimes it became hard to come up with new interesting ideas. I do it anyway because my livelihood depends on it, but it can be a challenge. But sometimes it's just easy as shit. I've made 2 Dreadnought videos that were an absolute hit, but I've realized that I actually never explained exactly what they are, how they are made, how powerful they are, and what the equivalent is for all the other races and factions. So that's what we're gonna do. You might have also noticed the new staff member of Majorkill Proprietary Limited. This plant I got shipped from Katachan. I live in Australia and it's currently summer. There are a lot of flies that keep trying to sneak into my videos for their 30 seconds of fame. I have been absolutely annihilating them with this zapper, but I thought a carnivorous plant would also do the trick, so that's what we're gonna go with from now on. Problemo solved. Today we'll be talking about the Dreadnoughts, sharing interesting bits of lore about them that you probably have never heard of. I won't be diving too deep into the famous Dreadnoughts or the many different Dreadnought types, as I've already done that, but by the end of this video, you definitely won't want to be inside a Dreadnought. But you will have a newfound appreciation for the ancient disabled boys. Let's get into it. Where do the Dreadies come from? Like, who had the idea of being like, yo, you know that severely injured Marine who is incredibly disabled and is currently more or less just like a nugget? Yeah, let's stick him in a big ass mecha and send him back to the front lines. Only in death does duty end, baby. I love that. You'd think that they should just like put them out of their misery or be given a retirement pension, but nah, time to fight in even more horrific battles. If it wasn't obvious already, this was probably the Emperor's idea, as was most of the other spicy weapons of war that have been used since the Great Crusade. The process of making a Dreadnought is simple. Give Mars a good wristy and they'll give you a good Dreadnought. Then when a particularly impressive Marine gets absolutely shat on and suffers permanent crippling injuries, they can be interred in said Dreadnought to continue to fight for the glory of the Emperor. Being put into a Dreadnought is not a particularly fun experience. Even the most iron-willed of Astartes find it quite distressing. There was an Ultramarine that ended up in a Dready, and he panicked and he got really claustrophobic. Then Gilliman is like, bro, have you been working out? Your arms are looking huge. And then the Ultramarine blushed and was suddenly cool about his newfound situation. That's G-Man for ya. Man is smooth as silk. Hence the Dreadnoughts were on the battlefield very early on in the Great Crusade. Not exactly at the start, because you know it requires someone to have gotten their socks blown off, and that takes a battle or two. However, the original designs, called the Proto-Dreadnoughts, didn't even require the pilot to be a Christie pouch of popcorn chicken. They didn't even require the pilot to be an Astartes. Those designs have since been lost because it's pretty lame and kind of offensive to disabled Astartes that an able-bodied, unenhanced human would basically be able to mock them by using their own wheelchairs. During the Great Crusade, there was a lot more and impressive Dreadnoughts. Sure, there was still the classic Castaferum design, which is that Roblox looking motherfucker. However, the Contemptor pattern was quite common during this period. The Contemptor being the superior design because like, actually has some genuine mobility beyond slowly trudging in a straight line. However, due to the complexity of its creation, as well as the fact that the STC of its creation was lost during the Horus Heresy, these bad boys are rare and can no longer be created from scratch. I mean, I think the Custodes can still make them from scratch, but the odds of the Custodes sharing the secrets to the Contemptor Dreadnought with the Space Marines is lower than the odds of me becoming the next president of the United States. Hence, the few remaining Contemptors are only fielded in desperate circumstances by the first founding chapters. Little to no successor chapters even have access to these girthy lads. Fortunately, as the chonky Dready design is still available and can be made from scratch, the Dreadnoughts have continued to grace the battlefields of Warhammer 40k for thousands of years, acting as slow-moving tanks with serious firepower. Dreadnoughts are quite versatile despite their bulk, and can field a huge variety of weapons and upgrades. I won't get into all of them because you know they have so many weapons, but just imagine the heavy variant of like everything, like a flamethrower, a minigun, a laser cannon, a plasma cannon, a missile launcher, you name it, a Dreadnought can have it. They can also be bulked up with even more armor and missile launchers if you really want to fuck up someone's day. They are noted as being a near unstoppable bulwark, able to hold the line when absolutely no one else could. A Dreadnought can also be modified depending on what kind of Astartes ends up within it. For example, if a Librarian gets cut in half by a Tyranid Carnifex and is dragged to safety, he can be placed into a Librarian Dreadnought and then can continue to use his psychic powers, except now good luck bisecting him. This type of Dreadnought is very, very rare. pretty much used exclusively by the Blood Angels. As the Grey Knights are all Psykers and also use Dreadnoughts, they can get their own variant of Psychic Dready called a Doomglaive Dready. Unlike the Librarian Dready who will step on your balls and then zap them with lightning, a Doomglaive Dready will act more as a support character to his battle brothers, using his Psyker powers to help shield them rather than tase the enemy's scrotums. Ironically, getting stuffed into a Dreadnought will actually extend your natural lifespan, as having the body of an Astartes combined with non-stop high-tech life support systems means that you basically cannot age. It's theorized that a Space Marine is functionally immortal, however will begin to slow down at about the 1,000-year-old mark. Some Chaos Marines are over 10,000 years old and still in their prime, but I wouldn't describe their aging process as natural, so it doesn't count. Dreadnoughts on the other hand have no issue living to 10,000 or more years old. Bjorn the Fell-Handed fought side by side with his Primarch, and even the Emperor on occasion, and he's still around in the setting. Not only around, but still kicking massive amounts of ass. Dreadies like Bjorn are called Venerable Dreadnoughts. A Venerable Dready is a Dready that is very old and has fought in numerous ancient battles. They will generally be the oldest Astartes in their chapter, and they act as the keeper of the chapter's history and lore. However, there's an unfortunate trade-off here. As the Venerable Dreadnoughts are so old, the knowledge on how to properly maintain their chassis has been lost. They also spend a lot of their time sleeping, and the older they are, the harder they are to wake up. So whilst having a Venerable Dreadnought in your chapter is a massive flex, they take up a lot of resources to maintain and wake up. Totally worth it though. Venerable Dreadies are an absolute sight to behold on the battlefield. After all, Bjorn the Fell-Handed nearly beat Magnus the Red in a duel. Knowing this, it'll probably come as no surprise that the Venerable Dreadnoughts are actually quite hilarious. They give zero fucks, as their lives are already forfeit, and they've experienced the worst the galaxy can throw at them, so they just like to have fun and take the piss. A Death Watch Dreadnought got ambushed by an army of Gene Stealers, so, he killed them all. The funny part though was that he hid in the mountain of their corpses in case any more came so he could ambush them. His comrades found him and they were like, what the fuck, when their gore-covered papa popped out and said boo. Another example is when a Dreadnought entered a courtyard with a lot of hidden Dark Elder, and he basically played hide and seek with them. Like he literally said, coming, ready or not, before killing them all. I love that shit. The greatest of all mankind's Dreadnoughts are the Telemon Heavy Dreadnought, exclusively owned and operated by the Custodes. These things are monsters, lightning fast, incredibly well armored, and they have a huge payload of firepower. Only the most celebrated and legendary of Custodes are allowed to be put into one of these upon their mortal wounding, and it's for a good reason. There's only a couple of these in existence, so if the Trader Primarchs ever make it back to Terra, you can bet your ass it'll be one of these boys that has the best chance of putting them down. What about the other factions? What is their version of a Dreadnought? Well, Chaos has a version. No shit, they have a version of nearly everything in the Imperium. As I said earlier, being in a Dready can be a pretty unpleasant experience, but being in a Chaos Dready is a whole new level of fuck my life. The most common Chaos Dready is a Hellbrute, which is what happens when the Dreadnought is corrupted, causing the metal chassis to melt into and merge with the pilot. This process sucks ass for the pilot, and it leaves them in constant agony. As a result, all Hellbrutes are completely fucking insane. Not every Chaos Dready suffers this fate though. Some are able to avoid this and are basically just normal Dreadies, but they serve chaos. Contemptor Dreadies also follow this pattern, however as these are incredibly rare, they are saved for only the most special of Chaos characters. As a fun little note, those mukbang demon wordbearers who are placed in a Dreadnought can go demon mode in their Dready, turning the entire war machine into a demon, so yeah, that's pretty neat. The Eldar don't have Dreadies, but they do have Wraithguard, Wraithlords, and Wraith Knights that follow similar logic. In Eldar Wraith units, a dead Eldar's Spirit Stone is placed within them, causing them to activate and allows them to continue fighting, even in death. Wraithguards describe the experience as being like in a vivid dream, whilst Wraithlords are completely lucid and are aware of what's going on. The Orcs have their various mechs and warsuits, but due to the nature of Orc technology, there isn't a one-size-fits-all. It could be argued that Ghazghkull walks around in a Dreadnought. After all, I mean, he did get his head cut off. The Necrons have big units, but I haven't seen a Necron shoved into a bigger Necron yet, so not much to compare, whilst the Tyranids just create bigger monsters when the need arises. The Tau mechas don't really count because they have a shitload of them, and you don't need to meet the requirement of getting sodomized with a lightsaber before you're eligible to pilot one. Big ass high powered mechas are fun, and absolutely nobody can tell me otherwise. That's why literally every faction has their own equivalent variant. If one day I end up getting my balls blown up, I pray to the God Emperor that the option to be permanently hooked up into a bipedal killing machine is available. Only in death does duty end. If you enjoyed the video and you want to support the channel, then Patreon is the place to be. Only $1 per month give you access to a boatload of spicy, non-Japanese hentai. Hit the subscribe button, then hit the real subscribe button for more dreadful content. Join the Discord for more memes, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.